Hello everyone and welcome to Talking Class with Roland-ish. I'm Matt, and in this video I'm going to break down all the subclass options for the Druid class for D&D 5.5e, or your 2024 Player's Handbook. If you haven't done so already, check out our Talking Class playlist. There you're going to find all the videos that break down what you get, levels 1 through 20 for each class, and a separate video breaking down the subclass options. You're here because you want to find out what I think about the subclass options for Druid, so let's jump right in. Circle of the Land is first. Now, these are going to be for your mystics and your sages. In my opinion, I would suggest that if you're not familiar with spellcasting or playing a spellcaster, that this be your option. I say that because there are a lot of options for spells, and that would be great to use as a way to teach yourself what the spells are, what they do, but it can be overwhelming. I would leave this subclass to someone that's a little bit more experienced in this spellcasting, just so they don't get overwhelmed. But to each their own. At level 3, you get access to the Circle of the Land spells. Whenever you finish a long rest, you choose one type of land, arid, polar, temperate, or tropical. Then you consult that land's table. That tells you which spells you have access to prepare and cast. And you can change these at each long rest, making this very versatile as an option. And this is why I think it might be overwhelming for a new player or a person new to spellcasting. When you choose Arid Land at 3rd level, you get Blur, Burning Hands, and Firebolt. Level 5, you get the infamous Fireball, which is usually reserved for wizards. At level 7, you get Blight, and level 9, you get Wall of Stone. When you use Polar Land, at 3rd level, you get access to Fog Cloud, Hold Person, and Ray of Frost. Level 5, Sleet Storm. Level 7, Ice Storm. Level 9, Cone of Cold. That's the big one, a big 60-foot cone. It requires a con save and deals a lot of cold damage. If you use Temperate, at 3rd level, you get access to Misty Step, Shocking Grasp, and Sleep. At level 5, Lightning Bolt. Level 7, Freedom of Movement. Level 9, Tree Stride. When you use Tropical Land, at level 3, you get Acid Splash, Ray of Sickness, and Web. Level 5, Stinking Cloud. Level 7, Polymorph. Level 9, Insect Plague. The fact that you can swap these out in a long rest or choose a different land type at a long rest, that is going to give you access to these spells, and they'll always be prepared and not count against you in the ones that you're preparing from your Druid spell list. It is a lot of options, making it extremely versatile and an excellent subclass for the Druid. It just could be a little overwhelming, that's my only fear. At level 3, you also get Land's Aid as a magic action. You can expend a use of your wild shape, choose a point within 60 feet. Flowers and thorns appear for a moment in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on that point. Each creature of your choice in that sphere must make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. They're going to take 2d6 necrotic damage on a fail, or half as much on a success. If you have allies in that sphere, you can choose one, and they can regain 2d6 hit points. It's pretty cool that, and a lot of times when you have an area of effect, you're worried about hitting your teammates. In this case, you want to seek them out because you'll be able to hurt an enemy and heal an ally. Very good use. The damage and the healing will increase by a d6 at certain points. At level 10, the 2d6 becomes 3d6, and at level 14, it becomes 4d6. At level 6, you get Natural Recovery. You can cast one of the level 1 or higher spells that you've prepared from your Circle Spells feature without expending a spell slot. And you must finish a long rest before you do so again. What that means is, let's say today I'm using the Tropical Land Circle of Spells. I could cast, let's say, Ray of Sickness without expending a spell slot. And I could do that once per long rest. In addition, whenever I finish a short rest, I can choose expended spell slots to recover. Those spell slots can have a combined level that is equal to or less than half your Druid level rounded up. And none of those spell slots can be for spell slots 6 or higher. Here's an example. If you're a level 6 Druid, like right now, you can recover up to 3 levels worth of spell slots. That's half. It could be 1 3rd level spell, a 2nd level spell plus a 1st level spell, or 3 1st level spell slots. That's how you use that. At level 10, you get Nature's Ward. You're immune to the poisoned condition, and then you'll have resistance to a damage type associated with your land choice in the Circle of Spells feature. So if I'm using arid, I'm resistant to fire, or polar, resistant to cold, temperate, resistant to lightning, tropical, resistant to poison. At level 14, Nature's Sanctuary, a magic action I can expend a use of my wild shape to cause spectral trees and vines to appear in a 15-foot cube on the ground within 120 feet of me. They'll last there for a minute or until I'm incapacitated or I die. You and your allies in that cube will have half cover. That means you get +2 to your AC and dexterity saving throws while in that area. And your allies will gain the resistance of your Nature's Ward while there. So if you're using Temperate today and you're resistant to lightning, if they're in your Nature's Sanctuary, they're resistant to lightning. Pretty cool, right? As a bonus action, you can move this cube up to 60 feet on the ground, keeping it within 120 feet of myself. That's pretty cool to be able to move it with me. The next subclass option is the Circle of the Moon. This is going to be for the Druids that want to build into their backstory or roleplay using like lunar forces to fuel their magic. At level 3, you get your circle forms, and it gives you 3 different benefits. First, your challenge rating. When you take wild shape form, you can choose a beast with a challenge rating that equals your druid level divided by 3. So at 3rd level, you can have a challenge rating up to 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. That's important because at level 3, a normal druid is only going to have a challenge rating that is a fraction. So for you to be able to choose beasts up to and including a challenge rating of 1, that opens the door to so many and stronger ones. So that's going to be unique to you and give you a lot of versatility on those beasts. It's encouraging you to use that wild shape. While in this form, you also have a bonus to your armor class. Your AC will be 13 plus your wisdom modifier if this total is higher than the beast's AC. So you got a choice there. Also, you get temporary hit points when you take wild shape form. These temp HP will equal 3 times your druid level. So here at level 3, your temp HP would be 9. Also at level 3, you get access to your Circle of the Moon spells. At level 3, it's Cure Wounds, Moonbeam, and Starry Wisp. Level 5, Conjure Animals. Level 7, Font of Moonlight. Level 9, Mass Cure Wounds. At level 6, you get improved circle forms. You get 2 more features in addition to these 3. They are Lunar Radiance. Each time you attack in wild shape form, it can deal normal damage or radiant damage, your choice. You choose when you hit. You also get increased toughness. This means you can add your wisdom modifier to your constitution saving throws. This is important because if you're concentrating on a spell and you take damage, you'll need to make a constitution saving throw to maintain that concentration. The DC is 10 or half the damage taken, whatever is higher. For you to be able to add your wisdom modifier, your highest one, on top of that constitution save, it's going to increase the likelihood of success, helping you keep concentration, and that is important. At level 10, you get Moonlight Step. This means as a bonus action, you can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see, and then you have advantage on the next attack roll you make before the end of this turn. So your turn would look like bonus action, teleport, action, attack with advantage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, and you regain all expended use when you finish a long rest. You can also regain uses by expending a level 2 or higher spell slot for each use you want to restore. No action required. This is simply a resource swap. At level 14, you get Lunar Form. This means you have improved Lunar Radiance. Once per turn, you can deal an extra 2d10 radiant damage to a target you hit with a wild shape form's attack. Once per turn, an extra 2d10, that's a lot. I like it. You also have Shared Moonlight. Whenever you use your Moonlight Step, that bonus action teleport, you can also teleport one willing creature. They must be within 10 feet of you, and when you teleport, they're going to land in an unoccupied space 10 feet from you. That's pretty good to get you and a teammate out of a tight spot. The next subclass option is Circle of the Sea, and in my opinion, this is the strongest subclass option for the Druid. I would even dare to say it is overpowered, but I'm not complaining. I think the 2014 version of the Druid's a little bit stronger than the 2024 version, but this subclass makes the pendulum swing in a different direction, and I'm here for it. Here's why I say that. You get your Circle of the Sea spells at level 3. And at level 3, you get 5 right off the bat. Fog Cloud, Gust of Wind, Ray of Frost, Shatter, and Thunder Wave. At level 2, you get Lightning Bolt and Water Breathing. That'll be important in a moment. At level 7, it's Control Water and Ice Storm. At level 9, it's Conjure Elemental and Hold Monster. That's way more spells than any of the other subclasses are going to offer you to keep. Now, Circle of the Land gives you options to swap out, but each of those options are not carrying this many. That's a lot of spells. But also you get Wrath of the Sea. As a bonus action, you expend a use of your Wild Shape form to manifest a 5-foot emanation that takes the form of ocean spray and surrounds you for 10 minutes. It ends early if you dismiss it, you manifest it again, or you get incapacitated. When you manifest this emanation, and as a bonus action on your subsequent turns, you can choose another creature you can see in that emanation. The target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC, or they take cold damage. And if the creature is large or smaller, they get pushed away up to 15 feet away from you. But Matt, you didn't say how much damage. To determine that amount, roll a number of d6s equal to your wisdom modifier. Here at level 3, it might be a +3 or a +4. That's a lot of damage as a bonus action, and then subsequently. That's really strong. At level 6, that emanation now grows from 5 feet to 10 feet, and you gain a swim speed. Now remember, at level 5, you get access to water breathing that allows you to breathe underwater for 24 hours. One level later at level 6, you gain a swim speed. Now you're extremely valuable if you get in an underwater encounter. At level 10, you become Stormborn and you gain a fly speed too. Because the gales of the force of the storm, you're part of that energy. Now you can fly. But you also gain resistance to cold, lightning, and thunder damage because they're part of that storm. There's more. At level 14, you get an oceanic gift. Instead of manifesting that emanation of Wrath of Sea around yourself, you can manifest it around one willing creature within 60 feet of you. That creature's going to gain the same benefits you did. It'll use your spell save DC and your wisdom modifier for it. But in addition, if you expend a second wild shape use, you could then manifest the emanation around both that other creature and you at the same time. That's awesome. You're just going to need to stockpile some of your wild shape uses at this high level in order to do something like that, but it's extremely versatile use. But you see what I'm saying? You get so many more spells than the others. You get a very high damage dealing bonus action. You get this emanation. You can swim, you can fly, resistance to cold, lightning, thunder, and now you can move the emanation to yourself and a person. That's really, really strong, and why I think the subclass is a little overpowered, but that is not a complaint. Lastly, we have Circle of the Stars. This is going to be the Druids that discover the secrets among the constellations, right? That's the vibe. And I think this is more for the role players, and the reason I say that is because you create a star chart. And it is a tiny object, so it's an actual thing, kind of like a wizard's spell book. You can use it as a spell casting focus for your druid spells. You can determine what this star chart looks like by making one up, or you can roll on this table or pick one from the table. Let's roll random. 3. An owlbear hide tooled with stellar symbols. Nice. If that's what our star chart looks like, I can imagine rolling out this piece of flesh, right? That's for my role players. I think that's a pretty cool thing to do. While you're holding this map, you have Guidance and Guiding Bolt always prepared. And you can cast Guiding Bolt without expending a spell slot. Guiding Bolt has a range of 120 feet, and on a hit, it deals 4d6 radiant damage. And the next attack roll against that target will have advantage because that target is now glowing. That's a pretty powerful first level spell. You can cast it in that way a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. At level 3, your wisdom modifier might be a +3 or a +4. To say I can cast Guiding Bolt 3 or 4 times without expending a spell slot, that's pretty darn powerful. And I regain all expended uses when I finish a long rest. Okay, so this map. If you lose it, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to magically create a replacement. This ceremony can be performed during a short or a long rest, and it destroys the previous map, so if it fell into the wrong hands, no problem there. Also, at level 3, you get Starry Form. As a bonus action, you expend a use of your wild shape to take on a starry form instead of a beast shape. While in the starry form, you retain your game statistics, but your body becomes luminous. Your joints glimmer like stars, and glowing lines connect them as if you were a constellation yourself. This form sheds bright light for 10 feet radius and dim light for another 10 feet beyond that, and it lasts for 10 minutes. It only ends early if you dismiss it, are incapacitated, or you use this feature again. Okay. When you assume this form, you choose what that constellation looks like. You have 3 options. The Archer. When you activate the Archer, and as a bonus action on your subsequent turns while it lasts, you make a ranged spell attack, hurling a luminous arrow that targets one creature within 60 feet of yourself. On a hit, the attack deals radiant damage equaling 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. Not bad for a bonus action. If you choose the Chalice, whenever you cast a spell using a spell slot that restores hit points to a creature, that is a healing spell to a creature. That doesn't say other than you. That does include you. When you cast a spell using a spell slot that heals hit points to a creature, including yourself, you or another creature within 30 feet of you can regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. So, here's examples. I can pick one of my teammates, cast a healing spell like Cure Wounds, because that's a level 1 healing spell. I heal my friend. I can then roll a d8 and add my wisdom modifier to heal myself that much. That's cool. But because it says a creature, I could cast Cure Wounds on me. Then I can roll a d8 and add my wisdom modifier because I used Cure Wounds on a creature. Does that make sense? Or I can stack them on someone else, cast it on them, and then choose someone within 30 feet to get them. Or the same target I just had. It's like stacking a level 1 Cure Wounds on top of whatever healing spell that you just cast. That's pretty darn cool. Or you could choose Dragon. This means whenever you make an intelligence or wisdom check or a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell, which druids do often, you can treat a roll of 9 or lower on that d20 as a 10. Then add your modifier. This is going to increase your likelihood of success, especially on the ones that are a con save to maintain concentration. At level 6, you get Cosmic Omen. This is a little weird, but it's cool. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can consult your star map for omens and roll a die. It says roll a die, so pick one. D20, D10, doesn't matter. Until you finish your next long rest, you gain access to a special reaction based on whether you just rolled an even or an odd number. That's why the die doesn't really matter. Okay, what did you roll? If it's even, it's called a wheel. This means whenever a creature I can see within 30 feet of me is going to roll a d20, it could be a skill check, a saving throw, an attack roll, I can use my reaction to roll a d6 and add it to their total, potentially helping them turn a failure into a success. If I rolled my die and rolled odd, it's a woe. I can choose a creature I can see within 30 feet of me who's about to make a d20 roll. I can use my reaction to roll a d6 to subtract that number from their total, potentially turning their hit into a failure. That's good to put on your enemies. I can use this kind of reaction a number of times equal to my wisdom modifier and regain all expended uses when finishing a long rest. This is great. You get a reaction around. Using this in combat to have, depending on what your role is, helping someone or hurting someone else is a great feature. I think it's cool. It's random, but it could really lead to some cool moments at the table. And that's what I play the game for. At level 10, you get Twinkling Constellations. This means your starry form improves. That D8 for the Archer or the D8 for the Chalice, that becomes 2D8. And if you're using the Dragon, you now have a fly speed of 20 feet and can hover. Moreover, at the start of your turns while in the starry form, you can change which constellation is in your body. So I can change them. Before I couldn't do that. I had to pick one, and that's what I was using. Now I can change them. That's going to be useful, especially in combat. Lastly, level 14, Full of Stars. While in your starry form, you become partially incorporeal, giving you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. It makes a lot of sense. You're no longer physical. That is a very useful subclass as well. Stars is good. I think for the role players might like that. Circle of the Sea, I think, is the strongest one of all four. And then Circle of the Land, like I said, I think it's better for a more experienced spellcaster. Could be a little overwhelming for someone new to the game or new to spellcasting. But on the flip side, it could be useful to help teach you the different spells and what they do. That's up to you. Have fun building your Druid. If you haven't done so already, like and subscribe. That's going to help get this content in front of more people. We're interested in anybody who wants a different opinion on D&D related things or are trying to learn this game, so please do that. Drop a comment. What druid did you build? What subclass did you take or are planning on taking, and why? I would like to know. Until then, we'll see you at the table.